Hi, name's Ron. Welcome back to my shop. Before we get started on this little project, just a quick video of the end product so you know what kind of results that you can get.
Okay, this is the completed cabinet with concealed door magnets. First thing you notice, or actually don't notice, when you open it up, is that you can see no plugs in this face frame. Or on the top either, but the lighting's terrible up there. On the inside of the door, there's a plug hole right there. It's very hard to see. It's within about 3/32 of the top of the door. So this magnet and the corresponding magnet on the face frame are very close together, so there's a better grip. Also, no plug holes on top of the door.
Okay, we're back. Hopefully you saw or didn't see the plug holes where the magnets are hidden in these cabinets that I'm making. I do that with these two very simple jigs. One is for the face frame and one is for the door. The writing on these designates that for the door frame or the face frame and which router bit that I want to use and the depth of cut that I'm going to use on each one. So just so I don't forget and I don't have to reset up every time that I do one. They really couldn't be simpler. I can make both of these in 10-15 minutes. I start out with a piece of 1/4 inch ply, about 11 inches by 6 inches. Two of them. Some scrap wood. I'm using about 3/8 inch thick by 3/4, and these first pieces are about 8 inches long. And I'm going to put one of them right up on the edge of this piece of plywood, about centered in the middle. Don't have to be perfect. While I'm right here, I'm going to do the other piece also. I'll come back and fasten these more securely later, but just to keep this as fast as possible. The router I'm using is this one. If yours is different, if your base is different, you may have to adjust these accordingly. What it's basically going to do is this router is going to set in here, plunge, and slide that much, just to make a slot for the magnets to go into. That's all these do. So, with that in mind, I'm now going to take this base, set it up against here, and place another one of these fences over on the other side. If you want just a little bit of a gap, you can put a card in there. Now this slides in there nice. I'm just going to focus on this one right now, but the other one's going to be exactly the same way up until we do the slot. So, right now, I'm going to, another piece of scrap, It doesn't have to be the perfect length to fit in between these, because all it's going to do is be a stop for this router base. It just has to be something that it stops up against. So, I'm just going to put it here and fasten this one down. Now then, I've got one stop in. I'm going to grab my setup blocks and show you how I get this final piece that needs to be fairly accurately placed. The magnets that I'm using, they determine the size of the slots. And these that I'm using are 0.472 in diameter and 0.118 inches thick. So they're a little under a ½ inch in diameter and a little under an 1/8 of an inch thick. So with that in mind, I know that the slot on both of these needs to be a ½ inch or a little bit more. This first one that I'm making is going to be the jig for the door. In the door, I put one magnet, just one of these magnets in the door. In the face frame, I stack two of these together. So in the door, I'm using a 1/8 inch diameter router bit. In the face, did I say that right? In the door, 1/8. In the face frame, 1/4 inch diameter bit. So, I'm going to do the door first, so I have an 1/8 inch diameter bit in there. And I want this to plunge through and make a ½ inch long gap. So when I plunge it through, I've got an 1/8 of an inch. That means I need 3/8 of an inch more to get to a ½ inch, but it can be just a little bit more. So I'm going to go a 32nd more. I'm going to go to 15 seconds. I'm going to put that as a spacer over here on this end, then put my other stop. Okay, now then, when I plunge through and travel that distance, I should have a hole in here that's just a little over a ½ inch. Okay, got my jig up on some spacers so I don't ruin my piece of plywood underneath, and I'm going to route that slot. Okay, now the front of this, the top of this is made. On the back, have to put a fence that is going to reference on your door frame. I've got a line on here that's about a 1/16, maybe a little bit more than a 1/16 up from this slot. Right now, it isn't directional. This line can go on either side of your slot. So like I say, I'm about 3/32 up from that slot. And I'm going to attach this fence to that. That's it. It's pretty much made. There's one more step I need to do to it, and I'll show you that in just a second. Here's the problem with these 1/8 inch router bits. They're not long enough to get to the depth that I need to put these magnets in without the 1/4 inch shank hitting on this 1/8 inch slot that I have there. They just won't go through far enough and get to the depth that I need. But they are a 1/4 inch shank. So what I'm gonna do is I got that 1/8 inch bit out of the router. I'm gonna put this 1/4 inch drill or router bit in, which I need anyhow to do the door jig. And I'm gonna chuck that up, and I'm going to reroute this slot to a 1/4 inch slot that's the same length here. That's going to allow this shank to extend through into that slot and get to the depth that I need. And because I already have this fence on the back, this 1/4 inch shank may hit that a little bit, but it's okay. This is already referenced. I'm going to be just a little over 1/16 of an inch from the edge of the door. So I'm going to chuck this up and make that cut. Okay, I have the 1/4 inch bit in the router, and I'm going to enlarge that slot just a little bit. Now it is going to make it, of course, a 1/4 inch wide, but it's also going to make it a little bit longer. But that's okay. These stops are already set up for this 1/8 inch bit. So regardless of how big that slot becomes, when I put this back in to make the actual cut in the door, it's going to remain that original length and width that I have. So let's do this. Okay, there we go. Now that slot now appears to be right up on the edge of this fence. That's only because of the 1/4 inch bit. And this will now slide into that 1/4 inch slot and get to a depth that I need to put the magnet in. This one is finished. And if you want, probably should, just write which one this is for. And once you actually get this set up and get your first one calibrated for the thickness of your doors and face frames, you can write on there what bits that you're using and the depths that you're cutting to, so you don't have to reset up and recalibrate every time. You'll have all that information on here. So this one's for the door. It's done. Okay, for this face frame jig, everything has been the same so far for these first 3 stops, but I'm using a 1/4 inch router bit instead of an 1/8 inch. So once I make the plunge, I'm already going to have a 1/4 inch hole. The total length of that hole needs to be just a little over a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put my router base in there, and I'm going to use a 9/32 spacer between the base and this final stop, and then fasten that. There, now once I do the 1/4 inch plunge and slide, I'm going to have a 1/4 inch wide by just a little over a 1/2 inch wide slot. One final thing on this face frame jig, it has to fit inside of your face frame. So if this fence on the back is too long, it's not going to let you slide up into the corner of a face frame where you only have one door. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a pencil mark there where the slot is going to be. If it's a double door, it doesn't matter, it's going to be out in the center. But for like this face frame, I need to get up in there tight. So if this is too long, it's not going to let me do that. So depending on the width of your stiles, make this accordingly. This one is right at 5 inches. Now, this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to stop it here with just the making of these 2 jigs, and I'm going to then immediately put up the actual using of these on the 2 cabinets that I'm making. Thanks for watching.